Hello, astronomy class. So today I'm going to talk about your second observation you're going to do. So last week I had you go outside and I asked you to tell me what you saw in the sky. Maybe you saw one thing or a few things. I just asked you to give me the time, what you saw, and just describe your experience. This time we're going to add one more thing. We're going to talk about something called elevation. So let's take a look at that. This is called Stellarium. You guys used one of these to submit your assignment last week. So I'm just going to click down here. I can see on the horizon, there's Jupiter. And by the way, this time right now is set to January 18th and 7:55 at night. That's not when I'm recording this video, but that is when the Stellarium time is set. So when I click on Jupiter, it gives me a whole bunch of data in the upper left here. So I want you guys to look at where it says as/out. And that out stands for altitude. So I said elevation, I kind of lied, it's actually called altitude. Really, those two terms are interchangeable. Altitude and elevation both refer to the same thing. They refer to the angle that an object is above the horizon. You guys might remember I had kind of have you guys do a review of angles. This is where we're going to use it. So it says the Jupiter's altitude is 1 degree above the horizon. If I click on another planet like Uranus right here, Uranus, come on, there we go. It says 61 degrees above the horizon. So what does this mean? So I'm going to show you this in a couple different ways. First, since I have my computer screen open, I'm going to show you this simulation here. Here we have like a little girl that's looking at a star in the sky. And you probably saw that I could drag the star. So this star has an altitude of 14 degrees. But as I move the star up in the sky, its angle also goes up. I'll stop there at 45. If you guys remember, 45 degrees is halfway between 0. So if I put it all the way down the bottom, it would be 0. 45 is halfway between 0 and 90. And 90 is the highest the altitude could go because that's the top of the sky. Now, I can't go to 91. If I started to go down the other side, like if I switch this around so I can go down the other side, it wouldn't go to 91. It would go back down to 89 and then go back towards 0. So when we talk about altitude above the horizon, you can't get higher than 90 because 90 is straight up above you. I'm having trouble moving it back there. Let me show you this using a different method. All right, so let's talk about when we're measuring these elevations or altitudes, what's actually going on. So here's the Earth. So we're talking about people all over the world, and they have their own way of measuring elevation. That's because everybody lives at different latitudes. What do I mean by all this? Okay, so this all goes back to something called the celestial sphere. So here we are in Missouri. If you're taking a science class with me, you're in Missouri. So I have my little observer right here in Missouri. He's looking up at the stars. And so we can place an imaginary dome, sky dome, over him. And this would like kind of help us illustrate what he's looking at. Now I can't balance him on Missouri, so I'm going to say that this guy lives in Canada just for the sakes of this demonstration. Fell off the Earth. Poor guy. He has an astronaut suit on, it's okay. So, plus it's physically impossible to fall off of the Earth. So, I have my little imaginary sky dome. Okay, so why am I using this sky dome? This is called the celestial sphere, and you guys have been learning about the celestial sphere this week. So let's say that this guy was looking at a star. So I'm gonna put a star on the celestial sphere, and he wants to know the altitude. Can you guys see that? Yeah, you can barely see that. So the altitude, remember, is just the measurement from his horizon. So here's his imaginary horizon. And we're measuring how high above the horizon that star is. So maybe this is like, I don't know, a 30-degree altitude. If you were to take a protractor and measure this sphere, you would find out that 90 is at the very top. You can't get higher than 90 because once you go back down, you're going back down to the horizon. Remember, altitude is the measure of the angle above the horizon. So this star has a 30-degree angle above the horizon. I'm going to use my whiteboard to show this to you guys one more time. All right, here we go to the whiteboard. All right. So here again, we got our observer, our astronaut guy here. And let's say, so he's on the ground. So this is like his horizon. So obviously horizons are bigger than that, but well, we can pretend that, oh, I don't know, we can call this north, we call this south, east, and behind him is west. So we got the directions there. And let's draw his celestial sphere or sky dome around him, whatever you want to call him. So that's his sky, that's what he can see. Now let's say that he sees a star or planet. It's right there. Okay, so what he wants to do is he wants to measure that. He wants to measure the elevation. Remember, the elevation is the angle from the horizon to whatever object you're observing. It could be a planet, star, sun, moon, constellation, whatever. So he's like, well, how do I measure that? Now, it's important to know that on the horizon, anywhere on the horizon, the altitude is 0 degrees. So if you see a star or a planet on the horizon, you already know the altitude is 0 degrees. The North Star, if you see anything on the top of the sky, it has an altitude of 90 degrees. Remember, so 90 is the top. Can't get higher than 90. But anywhere in between, how are you supposed to measure that? Well, you could use Stellarium. When you do this week's observation, if you can't make it outside, whether because of the time or something else, you can always just use Stellarium, another virtual planetarium. But there is another way, which I'll show you right now. So let's just say that divide the board in two here. Here's my horizon. I'm looking out at the night sky. Here's my horizon. There's grass here, whatever. And up in the sky, I got some clouds. And I also see the moon. Let's just say that it's an almost full moon. And I want to know, well, what is the altitude of the moon above the horizon? Because I don't have any fancy equipment with me, so how am I supposed to do that? Well, I'll show you. So there are these little fancy tricks you can use to measure the elevation or altitude of your object. And the way you do that is that you stretch out your hand as far as you can go with the horizon in front of you and wherever you're trying to measure up to. So if you hold your pinky out, all the way outstretched, that's 1 degree. If I have 3 fingers out, that's 5 degrees. 10 degrees is a fist. 20 degrees is from pinky to thumb. I think if you do pinky to index, that's 15 degrees. Remember, so we're kind of estimating, right? Because some people can only do this, some people can do this. Some people can do that, some people can really stretch it like this. So we're estimating a little bit, but it's okay, we're still learning. So I'm going to, let's use that chart to measure the altitude of my moon here. So if I could have my pinky against the horizon, I can say, okay, that's 1 degree, 2 degrees, 3 degrees, but that's going to take too long. So an easier way here, okay, that's 20 degrees, and then do another pinky thumb, 20 degrees. Now I need to go a little bit finer. So maybe like that, 5 degrees. So 20, I did 20 twice. 20 plus 20 is 40. Plus 5, so 25 degrees. Now, obviously, this is a fake drawing. This isn't the real moon. I'll make sure I post another video to show you how I actually use the same method outside. It's a dark video, so it's kind of harder to see. But that's how you can use your fingers to estimate the altitude. So I estimated the altitude of the moon. And what did I say? 40 plus 5, 45 degrees. So this just so happens to be the halfway mark between 0 and 90. It's just coincidence that I drew that. I wasn't measuring my fingers at all. So your observation that you're going to turn today is very similar to what you did last week, but this time we're going to add on altitude. Later on, we're also going to measure the angle between north, east, south, and west. So we're going to measure two angles next time. Next time, we're going to measure the altitude, how high the object is in the sky. We're also going to measure the directional angle, but we're going to get back to that later. I'll post another video for that. Today, it's just going to be find one object. You get to pick your own object. I recommend the moon because the moon is just leaving the full moon phase, so it should look like this for the rest of the week. And it's very easy to spot, even if you're in the city. If you can use Stellarium, if you want to know what time of night the moon will be out, just use Stellarium and say, okay, I know I'm going to observe on Wednesday night or Thursday night, and I can go at 9 o'clock at night. Will the moon be out at that time? Assuming there's no clouds. Again, and just remember, you guys don't have to use you don't actually have to go outside to use Stellarium if you want to. So hope this helps you get your observations started today. If you have any questions, please let me know. Talk to you later. Bye.